What is going on, everybody? It is Thursday night, getting ready to start off a really big weekend this weekend. And of course, SAJ's on location, right? I can't be at the home studio right now, but I am coming to you live. I may have used this one before. Don't think I have. The Barnacle Bills Studios.
I think one of us might have used that one, but it's still a good one. So
I'm still here. Yeah, technical issues. So sorry about that. But yeah, I'm here and just chilling in a parking lot, just waiting for the kids to get done with soccer so we can get back home. And yeah, such is the life. I know you guys remember these days. I've done it before several times. So we're back in that swing again. So
no, that's all good.
But yeah,
man.
so Barnacle Bills, little Laguna Madre action going on. Barnacle was the precursor to Laguna Madre. There's a whole story about it, San Antonio lore. You know how it goes.
Oh, of course. Great place. I love Barnacle Bills, and I love Laguna Madre. So it's basically the same damn thing. What is up? I am BD, and man, today, where am I going to come from? I'm gonna come from the Thrift Town Studios because I was driving right by one day.
Yeah, I was gonna say, isn't the one over on Thousand Oaks still there, or did that finally shut down? Because I thought that was like the last one.
That one was last.
Okay.
One. That was
Okay. That's not a bad choice. We actually kind of thrived on those locations when we were younger, in college, all that good stuff, right? And I'll never forget it. Long story, I won't tell you all the details, but I'll tell you the important ones. A buddy of mine got a mechanic shirt there that said Pablo, and it didn't have a company name on it, just had the name Pablo. And it was probably the coolest thing in the sense that everybody loved that shirt. And I don't know why. It was just a mechanic shirt, said Pablo on it, and everybody absolutely loved it. So, I mean, what can you say about people's fashion sense? You know what I mean?
Dude, when I was in high school, man, that was the place we shopped, man, because that was when all the kind of the 70s shirts were coming back, and you had that was just kind of the style again. So, man, I bought all my clothes for high school around there.
I really, looking back, kind of wish I would have known a little bit more. Again, a little bit of an age gap between you and I, not too terribly much, but I wasn't aware of things like Goodwill and Thrift Town and things like that. So we always went with the cheaper options. Like, I know you've heard me make jokes about it before, but the tough skin jeans from Sears that you literally couldn't weld through, those are the kinds of things that my parents bought because it was worth the money, because you could have a child wear them for 2 years, pass them on to another child, and have them wear it for 2 years. And, everything kind of, you could pass it down from generation to generation if you would, and they would last like 1,000 years. They're the best. But yeah, so I wasn't really aware of those. I wasn't aware of those kinds of places until I was an adult. And looking back, I'm like, man, I could have saved so much money on good clothes and not had to wear like the Payless Shoe Source type shoes, when everybody else is wearing Nikes and Reeboks and things like that. But you live and you learn. You understand the value of the dollar from situations like that. So in that regard, I'm appreciative of it. And John David, don't worry about me and doing my show and driving. This is no different than us driving down the road and having a conversation on the phone. Absolutely. So maybe I don't look at BD as much tonight, but I'm still going to talk and just pay attention to the driving. So it's all good, my friend. You don't have to worry about us. In Texas, right? In Texas, we know how to drive, so it's okay.
Let's get it. Let's get into the football. I know we haven't had an episode in a couple of weeks. I know last week I was able to get on. I had some stuff going on. So we didn't get to talk about the championship games for the NFL. Um, I mean, the first
We did
one was
not.
that Patriots Broncos game, which I mean, you thought it was going to be a really just kind of a good game, and turned into be a defensive slugfest. And I mean,
Yes.
had a freaking blizzard just blow into Denver halfway through the third quarter. It was absolutely insane just watching the field go from it's completely clear in the like start of the third quarter to completely snowed over by the end. I don't I
That
don't know the
that was
last time I saw such a shift in just the weather.
it has been a good minute since we've seen something like that happen in an NFL game. And definitely surprising, you know, did kind of influence the strategies of the games and everything. I will say though that I was a little bit surprised that Denver's backup quarterback did as well as he did. Now that's not to say that he did well necessarily, but he did a little bit better than what I was expecting because I 100% expected for New England's defense to just kind of run all over him and get a bunch of picks, maybe get a couple of sacks, maybe even knock the poor guy out of the game. But he did okay. I mean, all things considered, it's his first time at the helm really with that team in a very high pressure game. And he didn't absolutely blow it,
He did it. I mean,
So, what
basically
were you, I mean,
the very first drive they went down and scored a touchdown, and I mean that's when you thought like, oh shoot, okay, Patriots are going to have to try and keep up here, and that was pretty much all Denver did. And I think Stidham he played good for the situation, like you said. Obviously he hadn't started a game in a year or two. Wasn't obviously planning on starting the game. Wasn't really obviously hadn't taken many first team reps throughout the season, but
right.
he was okay, and they were in a position to be able to win at the end of the game, and that's really all you want to expect from a backup quarterback in a situation like that.
100%, man. Again, if you look at the situation, he's playing in quite possibly the largest game in his career, hoping for it to be the second largest game in his career, right? So there's a lot of pressure on him. And for him to be able to put up the results that he did, I mean, you got to give credit where credit is due. He did the best that he could in the given situation, and maybe it obviously did not turn out the way that they wanted it to. But this isn't one of those situations where they got completely blanked, completely blown out, and you need to hang your head in shame, put a bag over your head when you leave the stadium so nobody recognizes you. Like, he did okay, right? I understand that's a moral victory at the end of the day, but all things considered, I mean, you take what you get. And
again, like
Denver,
you said, most people were expecting Denver to get completely blown out. When it was announced that Bo Nix had broke his ankle and wasn't going to be playing and all that, everyone thought, well, Patriots are just going to roll their way into the Super Bowl. They're basically going to have a bye week, and they didn't have that. So I mean, Denver put up a value effort, and I mean, like I said, just three-point game. So anything could have happened. Any wrong bounce or something, and Denver could have won that game.
well, and the thing that surprises me though is the expert analysis of the game that once Bo Nix was out, it was heavily favored that Seattle was going to win. It makes me wonder what they were basing their evaluations on. Because Bo Nix isn't the entire team, right? He's not throwing the ball to Bo Nix. He's not handing it off to Bo Nix. Bo Nix isn't blocking for Bo Nix. Bo Nix isn't on the defense, right? So none of those pieces changed. So why did it swing so heavily to Seattle's favor just because one player was out? Now, again, I understand Bo Nix is the one who's kind of driving the ship, right? He's the one who's throwing to the receivers, handing off, reading options, things like that. But that doesn't mean it all is dependent upon him. And so it's just one observation that I made, during the lead up to the playoff game weekend was like, man, this is kind of odd that, one player is out, the coach, the staff, everybody else is there. Even the beer vendor guys are all there. Nothing has changed except for the quarterback. And the opinion sways so quickly based on one player. So just kind of a surprising thing I caught out there. But overall, again, great game. I did catch the second half of it and was very surprised, just like you had kind of alluded to earlier, that it was such a close game, and it was only a 3-point deficit at the end of the game. Anything could have happened, right? But overall, great quality playoff game. It's what you want to see when you're looking at playoff football. Is teams like that, a juggernaut and an underdog, and they're both duking it out, and nobody's falling, right? So definitely worth the money. Now let's flip over to the other game. Unless you have anything that you wanted to touch on with that game.
Like you said, it was a defensive slugfest, and scoring touchdowns is sexy football, and people love that. But you know what? Sometimes I just love a good defensive game, just kind of the defensive just punching each other in the face, and this was that game. So it was enjoyable, and you know what?
Mm-hmm.
I've talked many times of how I love just seeing snow on a football field and games like that. It's just a very cool visual for me. So it was everything that I like seeing in a football game.
Well, and you're probably used to seeing a little bit different snow on the field with being a Dallas fan.
That is true.
So,
that is true.
I get it.
There's a reason with the '90s Cowboys they had to go redo the white lines on the field, just in the middle of the game. Got Michael Irvin
as an owner.
The entire yardage line was gone.
As an owner of a team, you do whatever you have to do to win championships, and sometimes there might be some questionable methods, but you get the job done, and you've got 4 Super Bowl rings to show for it.
What did you win? That's all that matters. How you got there?
There you go. Okay, before we get banned by the NFL, let's go ahead and kick over to the other game and walk me through that, because I only caught bits and pieces of it because we had a really busy playoff weekend, and I was not able to fully focus on that NFC game.
Man, that was it was the opposite. It was a high scoring game, and up until the fourth quarter, nobody scored in the fourth quarter, which is kind of weird because they were scoring touchdowns across the whole the rest of the game, but it was a good game, good hard fought game. Obviously, Seattle won out 31-27. But it was Stafford played well. Darnold had a really good game. It was just good football all the way through, and it was a really enjoyable game. Again, the completely opposite from the one before, but again, you had kind of just two different styles of football that was fun to watch.
So Sam Darnold, right, is with Seattle, correct? This is his third or fourth team that he's been on where he's been in a championship, contending position. Do you think he's going to have the?
I don't know. So he got drafted by the Jets. He was not in a contending position there. He was with the 49ers a couple years ago when they went to the Super Bowl, but he was a backup.
Mm-hmm.
So that doesn't really count. And then he had last year with Minnesota. And they didn't make it to the championship. I think they lost in the first round. But
they still made the playoffs.
Yeah. And they were one of the top picks, they were projected to go deep just because of how well they did during the regular season. So it was actually a real disappointment last year. And then obviously, Minnesota decided for some reason that they didn't want him on the team anymore. And now here's Seattle, who, I mean, won the lottery getting rid of Geno Smith and picking up Sam Darnold. But
Yep.
I mean,
So going back to the Minnesota thing, because that obviously NFC North, that's one of the areas I tend to focus on more. Minnesota's thought process was get rid of Darnold because while he's shown, some potential higher caliber quarterback play, he isn't 100%, you're not 100% confident that he's the guy that's going to be able to get your team across the line. They liked what they saw with JJ.
Yep.
Figured he had the talent, the caliber, but he also came with a much cheaper price tag. So it made more sense to kind of go with him, right? I don't necessarily fault them for doing that because obviously, they picked JJ. He got hurt and cost Minnesota a couple of games by being hurt. And they came back and played horribly. It cost Minnesota a couple of games. And so they essentially were a non-contender. Yeah. And so I'm okay with that. I do think that it probably was not the right move because their team was pretty solid leading up into that. And switching quarterbacks to JJ instead of, letting Darnold run it one more time and see what happens could be part of the reason why they didn't show up. And what's happening, Excalibur? Good to see you, my friend. So that being the case. Oh, hey, Richard. Good to see you too, man. I'm sorry. Working off the phone, it's kind of hard to see all the comments. But so you take Darnold out of Minnesota, you put him over in Seattle, and they're now in the Super Bowl. Do you think he's going to have the juice to be able to get him across the finish line this time?
I don't think he needs to have the juice to be able to get them across again because Seattle has, if not the best, one of the best defenses. Obviously, they let the Rams score a bunch. Obviously, not enough to win the game, but I think they have the potential to be able to hold the Patriots down. And so Sam Darnold's probably not going to have to go out and gunsling to win the game. He just has to not play stupid and make bad turnovers. So I think if they do that, then Seattle can very, very easily win the game.
Very true. The other thing I like about this is that he has experience, right? And this is not necessarily his first time at the helm. Now, leading the team, I mean, there could be, some speculation because of some of the problems that he's had in the past, but that could easily be blamed on the teams he was on as well. On the other side of the ball, you've got May, who this isn't his rookie year, right? This is his second year?
No, second year, yeah.
If I remember correctly? Yeah. Right. But, again, it's his second year. I don't know that he's going to have the experience to necessarily help him get kind of get to that point where you're comfortable saying that I think he's got it. Now, that is just speculation. Again, I mean, who knows? We've seen some phenomenal second-year quarterbacks come out and do amazing things, and so it could be May all day long. No pun intended there, but he could come out and just surprise everybody and just stomp a mud hole in Seattle's defense, which is arguably pretty darn good, right?
Yeah,
we cannot take we can't take anything away from Seattle's defense. However, there's a lot of variables here that we just don't know. And I think the one constant that we have going into this game is that we know what to expect from both defenses. I think it's the quarterback and the offense that's going to be the biggest question. So I think it's going to be much like that AFC championship game where it is going to be another defensive slugfest. It's going to be a low scoring Super Bowl. And I think it's going to wind up with a really close finish. I think for everybody who loves defenses, this is going to be one of the, probably top 5 Super Bowls that you'll be talking about for a long, long time. So just my take on it. But I think with, and I don't want to say inexperience like it's, necessarily a bad thing or anything that's going to take away from these guys' talent. But I just don't know that they've, been in those high pressure situations before and have had to command a team with that much pressure on their shoulders yet. I think, time and experience sharpens that edge, so to speak. And that's where you start getting the, the elite quarterbacks like the Rodgers and the Roethlisbergers and the guys like that, get a taste for it, realize that they can handle it, know what they need to do. And maybe they don't necessarily get it their first year, but they keep digging and keep scratching and keep going back and keep doing it over and over and over again. Kind of like Mahomes, right? Mahomes has been in the Super Bowl plenty of times. He knows what to do, Excalibur's comment, spot on. That's something you've said probably about 10 times now. I just saw that.
I just saw that. Yep.
Yes. And I said it a couple of weeks ago on our last show before we did the Bedwell interview. But this Super Bowl, I'm happy. I don't care what happens, honestly, because Chicago's not in it. That's all I really care about.
Yeah.
So,
now I'm kind of curious. This seems like a very toned down lead up to the Super Bowl. It's kind of, I don't know. Maybe it's just me, but like, I don't feel like there's been as much, hoopla about it. And it's kind of like, oh, wow. Yeah. The Super Bowl's this week. I kind of almost forgot about it.
So, a little bit of speculation, a little bit of an open-ended question here. How much of the Super Bowl halftime controversy do you think is playing into that hype or lack thereof for this year's Super Bowl?
I don't know. I have no idea. Like, I feel like maybe that's what it is. That's really all I'm hearing about the Super Bowl is the stupid halftime show or the alternative halftime show or, the Puppy Bowl or whatever hell else is going on. Like, I'm not hearing stuff about the actual game, which is really annoying because, the halftime show it's 15 minutes of a 4-hour production. The fact that so many people are just focused on this 15 minutes, and that's taking 90% of the news cycle of this game is absolutely ridiculous.
So, to further elaborate on the comments that you made, I have to say that I watch football for the sport of football, for the joy of the competition, for all the passion and excitement that goes along with it. I don't care. I don't listen to Bad Bunny, not my flavor of music, but I don't really care, right? There have been other halftime shows. I believe Missy Elliott was in one, didn't care. When usually when it's Super Bowl, because obviously my team has only been 4 times and only 2 that I've been alive. The halftime show is an excuse for me to go load up on more snacks or adult beverages or what have you, right? So I don't really care what happens with the Super Bowl. And I certainly don't tune in on to the Super Bowl to make a political statement one way or the other. Like, I really don't care. And I don't like the idea of crossing those lines, so to speak, right?
And you know, and that's true. And I think that's why the Super Bowl has made an effort to bring a lot of these other the style of music that's probably not what most NFL fans like or are a fan of, because it's a way to draw someone else to watch the game that maybe may not pay attention to it otherwise. And look, I know I am not the target demographic of the halftime shows. NFL is not over here thinking what does a 45-year-old guy want to see at a halftime show. I know I'm not. So I don't care.
Right.
I hope it's a good
guys,
performance, and I hope it's just not terrible. Like they're having I think the last terrible one was when The Weeknd performed a few years ago, and I know it was COVID and all weird and stuff, but that was just a bad halftime show. I just hope it's not like
yes.
that.
So if we were the target demographic, it would be for like Centrum Silver, changing out your Doc Martens for Doc Scholl's, Hey Dudes, and physical fitness from a chair. Like that's what the target demographic would be going after. So I agree with you.
Although that, how cool would it be to have Real Big Fish play a halftime show? I mean, that'd be pretty sweet.
3,500 of us in America would be super happy about it. What about the rest of America, right?
What?
So I think some truth to what you guys are saying, that I think it's bringing in a kind of a fringe focus group, if you will. There are definitely fans of the NFL that listen to groups like Bad Bunny, or like a couple of years ago when they had arguably one of the best halftime shows with Dre and Eminem and 85 Cent, because he's gotten a little bit bigger, right? Inflation, so his price went up.
All right, he was $150 on that one.
Easily. But, right, that harkened to multiple generations. Guys like us that grew up in the 80s when gangster rap really started getting big, things like that. But then to the younger generation, because they had the connections with like Eminem and then with 50 Cent, and like it drew a lot of people in. And so I think in this instance, again, they're trying to do the same thing. They're trying to draw in the fans of Bad Bunny that are NFL fans, and then the fans of Bad Bunny that are not, to maybe get them to get a taste of the NFL and bring in more viewers for the next season. So in that regard, I think, yeah, they're trying to play both sides, because after all, it is a business, right? And they make money when there's eyes on the product. So that's kind of my thought process behind it. But again, fine. It's the NFL. It's their business. They can do whatever they want with it. If you don't like it, you simply don't have to watch, right? Making this huge stink about, oh my God.
You can go watch Kid Rock if you don't want to. And I mean, no thank you.
You watch the pup. If you're that concerned about it, watch the pup. No controversy whatsoever.
Well, you can't do that anymore. The Puppy Bowl, I believe when it first came out, it was during the NFL halftime show, but they do it before the game now. So they've been doing that for several years now. So you can't skip to the Puppy Bowl. Maybe if you want to record it and watch it at halftime, you can do that. But
Well, again, you can always do what old SAJ does. Go load up your snack tray, right? Because if you're at a good party, yep, there you go. So again, not tuning in to the Super Bowl specifically for a halftime show. I don't even like. I wouldn't tune into to the Super Bowl even if my most favorite band was in the halftime show. So I'm not going to care that they're bringing in somebody that I don't really watch and don't really have feelings about, right? Let it be what it is. If people want to watch it, they can watch it. If not, they can turn it off. No big deal, right? But we're supposed to be here for football. And then, of course, the halftime commercials, because those things generate millions of dollars. And people work for an entire year to create these commercials. So they're that epic. So
we're getting to
that's what I'm watching.
With these Super Bowl commercials. I don't know if you've noticed this over the last couple of weeks now, is we're having commercials for the commercials. State Farm, I think State Farm is having its what is it, halftime or halfway insurance or whatever. They've been running teaser commercials for. Apparently they're going to have some sort of deal during the Super Bowl. But I've seen several commercials for commercials.
Yeah, well, and look at the actors that they're using, right?
Yeah.
So that's not going to be a cheap performance. I think probably about the only other guy they could have gotten right now that would have probably cost him more would have been Walton Goggins, because of how he's exploded with the whole Fallout 76 thing, right?
Yeah. And
he wouldn't be able to dress up as the Ghoul, because that wouldn't be allowed, because that belongs to Amazon and Bethesda, the makers of the game. But otherwise, I mean, can't remember the guy's name. The beard from Eastbound and Down or whatever. He's in the
yeah.
Oh, what the heck is it? The Royal whatever, right? That show was pretty awesome.
It was.
And so again, right? You are seeing that there's commercials for the upcoming commercials, and it's an advertising ploy to get people to watch those halftime commercials, because you've got people that, again, maybe don't really care so much about football, but they like a certain actor, and he's been showing up the last couple of weeks talking about this big reveal that's coming up during Super Bowl, and you're like, I'll watch the Super Bowl so I can see that commercial, right? It just makes sense. It drives business. So all about that. 100% support that. But, yes, to land this plane, I don't care. You don't want to watch it, don't watch it. Don't make a protest about it. It doesn't make sense. There are people that want to watch that. And so you just leave them be. Let them do their thing. You go load up on snacks and beer and whatever, and just, this is supposed to be about the sport and really about the commercials, and for some people about the halftime show. It's kind of like the tray that you get at the grocery store that you're going to take to the Super Bowl party, right? There's a little bit of something in there for everybody. So let everybody snack on it and be happy. Don't put down the jalapeno stuffed olives because you don't like olives. It just doesn't make sense to me. But again, we're not a political show, so we're gonna go ahead and veer off of that. And Richard saying something about Shakira.
So what
I don't remember the halftime show.
What he's saying is during that Shakira show, Bad Bunny actually was a part of that performance. When Shakira and J-Lo performed, he came on. So
I just remember there being two gorgeous women on stage and having thoughts that I can't really share. So
that was probably one of my all-time favorite halftime shows, and I watched it on mute. So
there you go. Anyways, so yeah, big game coming up this weekend. Obviously, there's going to be a lot of eyes on it, and this is also kind of that line of demarcation where we will be transitioning into other sports, right? I didn't really hear from you, Brian. We talked about the game from an overall viewpoint, but who are you taking in this game?
I'm rooting for Seattle. I want them to win. I want Sam Darnold to win. I think he did kind of dirty in Minnesota, so I like that he's kind of got a chance to kind of redeem himself, and I'm just kind of rooting for them. I like them. So I mean I don't hate the Patriots, so I'm just again I hope both teams have fun. I hope it's a really good game, but at the end of the day, I'm probably hoping that Seattle wins a little more than the Patriots do.
Yeah, I think in that regard, I'm probably in the same boat. I mean, it's an NFC team. I'm an NFC fan, so obviously I'm rooting for the NFC in that regard. But I wouldn't be upset if New England won.
No, I
Now,
wouldn't either.
it would be interesting if New England wins this year and it comes back with the same team next year and does it again. And, after 3 or 4, do we start getting excited and thinking that, this may be Brady 2.0 or right? So like this is way looking ahead. Yeah, no, and I get that. But I'm just saying, right? Could this be? Now this is something we can't talk about until after May does that 3 or 4 times. But something to think about also, right? Maybe it's the Patriot magic. Maybe there's something that's special about that team. Now, realistically, it was Brady, okay? But, maybe lightning strikes twice. We had it happen in Green Bay. Now, we didn't do anything with it, but we had lightning strike twice with 2 Hall of Fame quarterbacks. And it could happen in New England also. So only time's going to tell ultimately on that one, though. But back to what Excalibur said, I kind of just hope both teams have fun. They're not going to have nearly as much fun as what the Pro Bowl did. And the Pro Bowl looked to be meh. Right? We talked about it last year. We talked about the Pro Bowl. And this new format of the Pro Bowl, I don't even watch it anymore because it's not the Pro Bowl that I'm used to, not the Pro Bowl that I liked, right? Where you actually had skill competitions and you had different things for the different positions to show off their athletic prowess, right?
Yeah. And I honestly, it was on Tuesday, which is weird. Like it used to be on the weekend. I mean that's how much the NFL doesn't even care about their own Pro Bowl. They threw it on a Tuesday night.
Yeah, so I've got a feeling that the Pro Bowl is probably going to, become a thing of the past, like leather helmets and things like that, because nobody really seems to care about it much anymore. It's been so watered down and diluted compared to what it used to be. They would almost have to change back immediately to the old format, and even then, it would probably take a while to recover from that, because like where's the quarterback competition? They had Jalen Hurts do that fake tush push thing, just playing around, and he wound up scrambling out and walking in a touchdown. Right? I get it. It's flag football. They're not really going at each other hard or anything like that. Fine, cool. But like, where's the competitiveness? Where's the passion? At least when you have the quarterback competitions,
the players are having fun. When they're out there doing the flag football game, I think the players are enjoying it, and I think there is something to be said about that. The old Pro Bowl with the actual game, it was they were going through the motions. They weren't, kind of in the fourth quarter they might start to play a little harder. When the game got close, they maybe decided they wanted to win, but really the rest of the game was just kind of whatever. I do see it seems like they're having a lot more fun with the flag football, and I think that's important. It's not just for us fans; it's also for the players here who are playing this game.
You're not wrong, but I keep harkening back to the days of yore when the game was important, but the skills competition was arguably more so important, right? There's a highlight reel that is etched in my mind forever when Brett Favre threw the longest ball at the quarterback competition and then turned around and threw another one even farther, but it drifted out of play, so it didn't count, right? And that's when he was standing next to Steve Young and God, who else was there? There was another quarterback that was there, and I can't remember who it was. But they threw, and they did okay, like 50, 55 yards, something like that. And then old Bert comes up and throws a freaking, a volley that went like 62 yards. And they just looked at him and they were like, oh, yeah, we're done. Like, we're done. Right. And then somebody threw one close to Brett's. So he got an opportunity to go. I guess they had like 2 rounds. He goes back for that second one and bombs it and went like 70 something yards. Again, drifted out of play. But everybody was like, holy crap, you could throw that far? Like, that's insane. But that's the kind of passion that I remember. That's the excitement that I remember about the Pro Bowl. And now, it's so watered down and convoluted. Yeah, the players are having fun, and that's great. But why am I going to tune in and give up 3 hours of my time to watch the players have fun? Yeah. I'm sorry, this isn't campfire kumbaya, my lord, right? It's supposed to be football. So, and then real quick, Excalibur, Josh Allen's time may be coming, but Josh Allen's time may also be done. So
I think it's, especially with the coaching change that Buffalo did, I don't know. I'm kind of concerned for the Bills and Josh Allen's future. They maybe they got something. Maybe they got a coach that can get them over the hump. But I don't know. Which is actually kind of, I'm sure you've seen this. It's kind of been going around a lot since Seahawks won. But Sam Darnold is the first quarterback to start in the Super Bowl out of the draft class of him, Josh Allen, Lamar Jackson, and Baker Mayfield.
Mm-hmm.
How crazy is
that? That's insane. Because every one of those quarterbacks is good.
How Sam Darnold started his career, just again,
yeah,
played the Jets for a couple of years, then just kind of like forgotten about and was just passed over for everything. So again, that's another reason why I'm kind of rooting for Seattle.
Yeah, well, and I think it's going to be a really good game overall. Now, we could talk about the different people that have been awarded the different awards this year. I can't really talk about that because I can't bring it up. Obviously, I'm on my phone.
So the award show is going on right now. So I'm getting some live updates of it. So what we've got so far is Myles Garrett won the Defensive Player of the Year. Absolutely, obviously he was going to get that. I mean, you get the sack record, you're going to get Defensive Player of the Year, guaranteed. McMillan won the Offensive Rookie of the Year from Carolina. Again, we didn't really, when we were kind of talking about it, we didn't know too much about either one of them, but just looking at the stats, I think we figured he probably would. Christian McCaffrey won the Comeback Player of the Year, obviously being injured last year and coming back having a great season. If you watch the show, my thoughts on the Comeback Player of the Year, but with what the NFL wants for it, he was a good pick. And then Mike Vrabel just won the Coach of the Year, which you go from 4 wins to 14 wins. You know what? It's a damn good coaching job. So,
yeah. It's a little bit. What is the right word I'm looking for here? I mean, it's a little bit veiled, though, in my opinion. Again, going from 4 wins to 14 wins is a big deal. But how much of that goes back to the head coach, doing the head coaching thing versus making sure he picked the right people around him? right? And but ultimately, that is still a head coach decision,
Yeah,
and if it influences,
and I think, especially for New England's case, it was Mike Vrabel coming in there and setting the tone, changing the culture. Kind of going back to the old Bill Belichick days of just do your damn job. You know, um,
yeah,
and I think that's kind of what's helped New England make this turnaround. So, I thought I kind of my choice for coach of the year was Ben Johnson of Chicago. Just how everybody thought that they were going to be the bottom of the barrel, and they turned out to be great in the NFC North. Um,
hmm
but I'm not mad about Vrabel winning it. I mean, he was out there 1A 1B for me.
yeah, and that's obviously a tough choice to make, but I do think that ultimately the right choice is probably made. Um, and so that's kind of where we're at with those choices. Sorry, we just got to the Casa, so tater tots.
You muted yourself, Jay.
You.
There
I
you
was
go.
just saying, we're we don't have too many more updates. Obviously, the award show is still going on right now, and a lot of those have not fully been announced yet. So as they come up, I mean, we're almost out of time as it is. So we'll probably just share them on the Facebook page. But it definitely some
Oh, he just dropped out, and he's coming back.
sorry, just grabbed in on the network. What I was saying was there's obviously some good competition at those positions, and so it'll be really interesting to see kind of how those things work out. Now, that being the case, obviously big game this weekend, and then football is pretty much done, or is it?
For the NFL, it is.
Right. We're right on the precipice of the launch of UFL 2.5, do we want to call it? Because about half the league is the same and half the league is new, although it's not really new because, they're just reallocations of teams and players to new cities and stuff. I've not made my feelings hidden about this whole situation. I'm cautious about throwing my support in the ring for the UFL because, there's a lot of mixed bag stuff that has happened, some timelines that hadn't been met and some changes that have really kind of set some fans off, right? And to be perfectly honest, there's a little bit of personal bias because, even though we don't have a team, there's still some of those, old team hangups there. There's still some of that drama that we had talked about that shouldn't exist, but it does, especially for a team that doesn't exist. Kind of silly. So I don't want to say I'm numb to it because I'm not. But I'm kind of watching from afar, if you will, right? I don't have a dog in the fight. We will be obviously watching and updating people on it because Houston and Dallas, well, now Frisco, I guess, if you really want to get technical, but Houston and Dallas still have teams. And so we'll obviously still be covering those. And we do have some former Brahmas players that have been scattered around the league, and we are rooting for them to, get their opportunity to shine wherever it may be. And so that part, yeah, we're definitely going to be, tuned in on that. And in fact, we've already, talked about it, but, our new show, the Snap Decision podcast, should be starting in a couple of weeks in relation to all of that, where we'll basically just be reporting on kind of the league as a whole and, talking about some of the former players and all the different things. And it is a hodgepodge of all of us former fans.
It's
right?
it's the scorned lovers podcast for the UFL, you know.
Yes, but we are going to keep it respectable. We're gonna, we're not gonna bash too much or anything. But
I'm still
understand.
rooting for the league. You know, obviously, I loved going to all the Brahmas games. You know, of course I did. I'm upset we don't have a team, but that's not making me like, okay, I'm not turning my back on the league or you know, anything like that. Like it's still good football. It's still enjoyable. You know, I'm still gonna root for all the Brahmas players. You know, I've kind of, you know, adopted another team already, but you know, I'm still gonna enjoy it and I'm still gonna watch it. So
I want to go back to something that you said, just to correct things a little bit, right? We don't have a UFL team, but no, Excalibur, I will always bash St. Louis. That will never change, right?
Yeah, that St. Louis will always be bashed forever and ever.
You guys gave up your quarterback. Now you lost your coach, and you're expecting things to be any different. So no, you're always going to get the wrath of SAJ, right? In a good way, but yeah, no, there's never going to be too much love lost when it comes to SAJ and the Battlehawks. Okay, but we don't have a UFL team anymore, but we do have a professional sports football team here in San Antonio, and it's not just the Gunslingers. Okay, we've been covering it quite profusely, I should say, and somewhat proficiently too. The San Antonio Gunslingers of the Continental Football League are here, and they are here to stay.
No, not the Gunslingers.
Not Gunslingers. San Antonio Toros. I'm sorry, because I just said the Gunslingers and Freudian slip there. San Antonio Toros of the Continental Football League. The reason why I'm pushing that is because there's traction there. And I don't think people realize just how much traction the Continental Football League has. I just answered some people's questions today, in fact, about us not having a the uniform reveal or the schedule release or tickets and stuff like that. Well, there's a timeline, and they're only off that timeline by about a week right now, okay? Because it was supposed to come out at the beginning of February. Well, we're not quite through the beginning of February yet. So I would say make sure that you're paying attention to the old interwebs there, the Twitter and the X and the MySpace and whatever else, because there should be some announcements coming. I don't know exactly when, but pretty confident that we should have a lot more information before the end of the month. We already know pretty much most of the staff on the SA Toros. We know most of the staff on the syndicate. We already know. See you, man. It was good chatting, Excalibur.
And thanks for jumping in with us, man. Hope you have a good one.
Yes, and off the field, we'll always be friends. If we ever face off on the field, bitter enemies, man. That's just the way it is, brother. But so Toros, we pretty much know everything that's going on there, plus a bunch of the signings with the players. With the syndicate, same thing. Social media, they're not hiding anything, right? They're talking about the sponsors and everybody that's getting involved and throwing their support in for this program, which we didn't even know outside of Dwayne Johnson and all of that. We didn't really even know who half the sponsors were for the UFL, right?
Because they were all Dwayne Johnson's companies.
Most of them. I think there were a few more that were not, but we wouldn't know. The Tall City Black Gold, we know all about it, right? Now, they're a little bit further behind because they came in a little bit later, but they're catching up pretty quickly. The Cincinnati Dukes and, of course, the original, the OG of the league, the Iron Men, we already know everything that's going on with them. But the only thing we don't know is, well, we know that there was a team in San Angelo that the league pulled out because there did not seem to be the same vision and cohesion with the league's visions. Hang on real quick.
All right, we can watch Jay.
Sorry, I had to hammer a child about breaking some rules. So now she's trying to give me the skunk eye. Okay. Anyway,
you tell her you're the master of the skunk eye. She got her skunk eye from you.
She did. It's an inherited trait.
Yeah.
Oh, she's trying to. She's trying to pretend like she's got some game.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, anyways, we're not here to.
The student is not yet the teacher. All right.
Oh no. Again, we know that there's more information that still needs to come out, but we have we have 5 of the 8 teams. 3 in the South already confirmed. There may potentially be another one on the radar. And we know that there are at least 2 other teams being looked at in the North. Now, how they break it down, how they pick it, whatever, we're not 100% sure, right? Because we're not that in cahoots with the league. Yeah. We're not team owners, so we don't get all of that full information. But we do know that there are negotiations going on right now to find either, to find replacements for the 4th team that was lost in Texas, maybe in Texas, maybe outside of Texas. That part we don't necessarily know. And then we know that there are negotiations with some other teams in the North to get those in. So again, we should be hearing something by the end of the month, and it should be a bunch of information, right? The reason why I keep pushing all of this, though, and I've said it before, right? My intentions have not been, veiled in any way, shape, or form. I truly believe in this business plan. I believe in crowdfunding. If you can get a bunch of people to buy in, you have control over what happens.
Yep.
Right? The UFL, great. Much respect to Rapoli for having the money to be able to do the things that he's wanting to do here and everything like that. In that situation, you don't really have much power as a consumer, right? You can either buy the product or not buy the product. At least in this one, you can dictate to a certain degree what the product looks like, right? You're not going to have any choice about the head coach that they pick. You're not going to have any choice about the players that they pick and stuff like that. You're not going to have any choice about the venue, which has already been picked, right? We already know they're playing at UIW. And Tall City Black Gold, in fact, just announced their stadium yesterday. And we know where Austin is playing. Of course, the Dukes and the Ironmen have already had that information. So, nothing new there. But you will get to dictate how you get to interact with the team, the different pre-game, post-game, on-field experiences, things like that. You'll have a say in some of the merchandise. You'll have a say in a lot of different things, right? That most fans don't get that opportunity to do. So that's why I keep pushing it. And that and the fact that it's professional football. We have professional football back in San Antonio. No. Now, I fully understand, I'm singing the praises of this team in this league to a bunch of people that have been hurt, let down, and abandoned yet again. Okay. So I understand this is an uphill battle, and I'm going to keep fighting it every single day. But to those that have questions, because I just answered a bunch, like I said earlier today, to those that have questions, feel free to reach out to us here at the Texans Talking Football podcast, either via Facebook, X, YouTube, Insta, whatever else that we're using, Twitch, everything. Message us privately, message us. In fact, I would encourage you to message us publicly. That way we can answer those questions and other people can see those questions and answers and maybe get their questions answered. Or maybe it spurs another good question and we can go and get those answered, right? But I want us talking about it. I want us sharing information. I want us interacting so that we can discuss what your hesitations and fears are, try and address those, and make sure that the team management, the team owners, and the league know about those things so that they can help address those as well. Maybe we don't get the answers right away, but if we have those questions that we don't have answers to, we can take those questions to them and say, this is what the fans are saying. How would you like to address that?
Yeah,
right?
absolutely.
You want to be a viable league, you address the concerns of your fans. And that's what they've done so far. And I think they've done quite a good job. Now, to bring more validity to the league, Coach Bedwell did get Jerry Glanville on staff. And there's background information there. I don't know how much I'm allowed to say, so I can't really say anything. But let me just put it this way. Coach Glanville was excited to get the opportunity to come here and coach. So it wasn't like, somebody begged him and gave him a whole bunch of money to come here. He was excited to be here. He's excited to be a part of this team and this fan base, because San Antonio has become legendary when it comes to being a fan base.
Yeah.
So let's continue the legend. I know there have been some people that have said, well, I don't want to have anything to do with this because, it reminds me of the old team. And then when I saw people doing stuff from the old team, it just set me off and whatever. Okay, cool. I get that.
Yeah.
But again, let me address that by saying this. We as the fans started all of the fan traditions. We started the horns forward. We had started the whole Vamos Brahmas thing. We started, all the chants that we did, the Ole when we scored touchdowns, all of that. That was all fan driven. So that's technically ours. So does it matter if we take those traditions and move them to a new team or not, or do things similar? It's our team. It's our culture. We're building it how we want it. And if you want it to be representative of you and, the culture here in San Antonio, you got to get involved, right?
Yep. Absolutely.
So I encourage people, rather than sitting on the sidelines and saying, hey, I don't want to do this because of this or because of that or whatever, and it has nothing to do with the actual operation or the business of football, come get involved. Come check it out. Yeah. Okay. So
just like we said with the UFO, all the time, like, hey, if you're not sure, come to one game. If you have fun, come to another game, So,
So come and check it out. I promise you, this is going to be very familiar. It's going to be, as they say, a duck to water. It's going to be fun. I promise you. Now, same rules apply as what we had when we were supporting the Brahmas in the Alamo Dome. You won't see BD and myself on the home side.
Absolutely not.
We've already got our spots reserved. We've talked to our to the ticketing people. We have our spot reserved.
Yep.
Guaranteed. This is where we're going to be sitting. And it's going to be fun. It's going to be spicy. Okay. And the best part is, because the league has kind of a policy about the travel being no more than 8 hours from, each other, there should be more fans from the opposing teams in the stands. So it could get really spicy, and you're not going to want to miss that. Okay. But we're also going to make a lot of friends everywhere we go, because that's what we do.
Absolutely.
So now, we talked about the UFL. We're going to keep covering it. We've talked about the Continental Football League and how SAJ is 100% buying in and trying to drag all of you with me, by force if necessary. We also need to talk about indoor football, okay? Because while we haven't really had a chance to pay too much attention, the Gunslingers have been on a tear, and they've been picking up a whole bunch of talent. So I think the lesson was learned from last season, how the performance did not even remotely come close to expectation.
Yeah.
And I don't think the owners of the team were very pleased with that. So they have taken the time to go out and start really pushing to get good talent. Okay. Not saying that they didn't have good talent before, but the cohesion just never happened. Right. I think we're going to see a completely different team this year. And I think we're going to see the team that we originally had when we moved into the IFL in the first place. Okay. And then, of course, AF1, right? We've got the Beaumont Renegades, the Amarillo Warbirds are around somewhere. We're We're going to have a lot of football to talk about, right?
Absolutely.
Football does not end in February. It just switches gears. So we'll try and keep you updated as much as we can. But we got to give a shout out to our friends at Pro Arena Talk and Bobby Otten and Sammy Sharp and all the other guys over there. And of course, XFL Mike G and everybody else at the Alternative Football Network for helping us cover some of these things, because there's so much going on. It is hard to keep eyes on every single thing that's going on. Those guys are gracious enough to let us know, hey, when we see a Texas headline, here you go, guys. Don't forget about this. Hey, check this out, right? So mad shout out to those guys for being on point, right? The guys over at Pro Arena Talk, they're as passionate about arena football as we are about like the NFL. So absolutely love partnering with those guys and all the information that they're willing to share with us. They don't have to, and they do. So nothing but love for you guys.
Absolutely.
Right. Again, also shout out to XFL Mike G and the Alternative Football Network, because they have not stopped their coverage of the UFL just because, well, XFL Mike G specifically, just because we lost the Brahmas. They just switched gears. Okay. So we're going to have plenty of coverage of everything that's going on football wise. We're going to have plenty to talk about. I'm sure we're probably even going to wind up going to an XFL game or a UFL game or two.
Oh, yeah,
right?
For sure.
If nothing else, just to hang out with the Banditos and our friends from Houston and get some of that delicious chocolate cake and get a little crazy.
Yep.
So, okay. So that being the case, we are definitely over on time. But
Shocker.
Yeah, right. But good informative show overall. Love the fact that you fans popped in to come and talk to us. B, you want to close it down with anything before we go?
No, that's it. I don't have a suck it for this week. Again, Super Bowl, hope both teams have fun, hope for a good game. That's it.
I have a suck it.
All right.
Suck it, Pro Bowl, because I'm tired of you. Okay. You got to do better. Right. We haven't done a do better segment in quite a while.
Do better in a long time.
I'm going to finish off with a do better, and then we're going to check out. This is to the NFL and to the Pro Bowl committee. Guys, I get why you do what you do. Okay. Inviting certain players to come out and show off because they worked so hard all year long and stood out among all of their peers. Cool. I get that. What you're offering is a participation trophy. Okay. Yay. They had fun in their flag football game. Nobody cares. It's so bad it's been moved to a Tuesday. Bring back the passion for the Pro Bowl game. Okay. You want people to watch it. You need to give them some excitement. Bring back the competition. Bring back the reason why those guys are there. The opportunity to show off their athletic prowess, whether it be through skill drills, through live games, whatever. Incentivize it to make it more like a real game. So they actually put some hits on people and they actually make some incredible catches and stuff like that. Do what you need to do, but bring the passion of the Pro Bowl game from the 90s and early 2000s back to the Pro Bowl game, or just get rid of it in general, because at this point, nobody cares. And it's like that pet that you have on life support that should have been gone 5 years ago, but you're still keeping it around. You're pumping it full of chemicals and oxygen and all these other things.
Oh, that's terrible.
Let it go.
That's
okay.
Terrible.
What's terrible is the fact that they keep trying to keep this Pro Bowl around and not letting it be what it should be or letting it go. So NFL and Pro Bowl committee, do better, guys. Okay. And that's it. I'm done.
All right. Well, you know what? Hey, we got Super Bowl this weekend. We'll be back next week to kind of recap everything and just to go into what the following, the alternative football season. So kind of one of our favorite parts of the year. So we will see you guys next week.
All right. Suck it, Pro Bowl. Vamos Toros. Let's go.